Good Friday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for January the 5th. Today we are reading together in Psalm number 3. Reading today the third Psalm, which is the first of the Psalms that is connected specifically with David. These headings that we have that are, at least in the way my Bible has them laid out, is they're in italics. So the words that are in between the bolded subheading and the first verse, and normally right beside the psalm number, those italicized words are in the original text. So we can have confidence that these were given by the authors themselves or those who were associated with the writing of the text. Um, so this is not like a subheading that we have put together, that translators put together, I should say, to help describe the psalm itself. But we were told this is a psalm of David when he fled from his son Absalom. That is from 2 Samuel chapter 13 and through chapter 17. This is the first time as well that this is associated with an event in David's life. I think there might be 11, if I remember correctly, 11 or so, 11 to 13 instances where there are specific events with David's life that are connected with these psalms. But this is the first one. Again, a psalm of David when he fled from his son Absalom. So, what was going through David's mind? What were his thoughts? What were the contents of his heart whenever he was dealing with this difficulty, extreme difficulty in his life? Let's notice that as we read together here from Psalm number 3. The third psalm, again, the subheading that is provided by the translators, a confidence in troubled times. But this right here, as I mentioned, this highlighted portion is italicized in my Bible, but this is something that would have been original to the manuscript itself. But here, reading together from Psalm number 3, Yahweh, how my foes increase. There are many who attack me. Many say about me, there is no help for him in God. Selah. But you, Yahweh, are a shield about me, a shield around me, my glory, and the one who lifts up my head. I cry aloud to Yahweh, and he answers me from his holy mountain. Selah. I lie down and sleep. I wake again because Yahweh sustains me. I will not be afraid of thousands of people who have taken their stand against me on every side. Rise up, Yahweh. Save me, my God. You strike all my enemies on the cheek. You break the teeth of the wicked. Salvation belongs to Yahweh. May your blessing be on your people. Selah. That is Psalm number 3. Again, the context given to us is David fleeing from Absalom, his son. Again, 2 Samuel 13 and 2 Samuel chapter 13 going through chapter 17. And this psalm, if I'm going to assign it a category, I would assign this a confidence psalm. This is one of those instances where the world is falling apart around the author. And for David, we think back to the story that we read last year about his horrible ordeal pertaining to his son, which in some ways, David kind of brought this on himself um, because of supported decision making on his part. But nevertheless, his son Absalom rises up against David, takes David's wives for himself, um, carries out this huge coup in which David is on the run for a long period of time. And it's during this time then that he either writes this psalm or this is him looking back, reflecting on that ordeal. And we'll note to begin with that he is addressing Yahweh. And that's really the first thing we want to notice is that David, as he's going through this ordeal, he lays it at the feet of Yahweh. He speaks to Yahweh, he says, how my foes increase. There are many who attack me. Many say about me, there is no help for him in God. Notice the language here, the increasing number of David's foes, the many who attack him, the many who discourage him by saying there is no help for him in God. This is not a insignificant difficulty he's facing. This is not him having stubbed his toe or having a hangnail or him just having a singular dispute with an individual that is contained within its context. No, this is a moment where David is overwhelmed. The very foundations of David's world are shaken in this moment. It reminds me a lot of what is said in Psalm 11 about the foundations being destroyed. We'll read that here in a few weeks. But just recognize the gravity and the substantial nature of what David is facing here. Again, it's not something insignificant. This is not something that is brief or fleeting. This is not an insignificant ordeal at all. This is very serious. The foes are increasing. Remember, not just his son, but some of his own people, some of his own advisors, some of the people belonging to the nation. They're all against him. Where does he turn, though? Let's focus on that. He turns to Yahweh. This is not just him just speaking out loud for anybody to hear. Oh man, it's so bad that my foes are increasing, that many are against me, that many are saying this. No, no, no. He directs it first to Yahweh. And he recognized that. But then, secondly, beginning in verse 3, we note why he focuses on Yahweh. And he does so because he recognizes God's provision. He recognizes who God is. That God is willing to be a shield around David. That God is David's glory. That he is the one who lifts up David's head. Think about those who are defeated. If an army comes against another army and the defeated army is marched out of the city or marched into captivity, well, how do they march? Well, they march with their head held low in defeat. But that's not how David pictures the way that Yahweh provides for him. No, Yahweh is a shield. Yahweh is his glory. Yahweh is the one who lifts his head. Why? Because David is not defeated. David might feel as if he's overwhelmed, but he is not defeated. And that's because when he cries out to Yahweh, Yahweh is willing to answer him from his holy mountain. He's willing to answer him from his holy mountain, that big, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipresent. Oh, there's another one. Omnipotent, omnipresent. Oh, I can't think of what the other phrase is that describes God, but that God who is all powerful, all knowing, all present, he is willing to look down and to see David in his distress. Think about that. Think about that from David's perspective. Whenever it seems like everyone is against him, he knows there is one to whom he can turn that will always hear him, that will always support him, that will lift up his head, and that is God. Therefore, David is able to lie down and sleep. And he's able to wake up again, knowing that Yahweh sustains him. Maybe this was a morning prayer. Maybe this was a prayer that David offered in the morning as he's getting up, either during the ordeal or following the ordeal as he reflects upon it. And maybe that's the case. Maybe this is a morning prayer because the next psalm, again, the psalms themselves are arranged in a particular way, it seems, by the organizer, whoever that was. So maybe this morning psalm is being contrasted with the next psalm, which is a night psalm. But he's able to go down to sleep, even though his foes are increasing, even though there are many who are against him, and even though there are many who are saying horrible things to him. He is able to lie down and sleep and wake up again because he knows that Yahweh sustains him. And additionally, he's going to be able to go throughout not just his night of rest, but also his day, not being afraid of thousands of people. We need to connect those words from verses 1 and 2. We have increasing, many, many thousands. All of these, if I understand correctly, in the Hebrew text, the Hebrew language, are connected by the various roots of these words, because there's an emphasis here. There's an emphasis on the number of enemies. And I think that seems certainly purposeful to talk about the number of enemies, because it is trying to show just how great God is. That even though, again, the foes are increasing, even though there are many who are against him, even though there are many who are speaking against him, even though there are thousands of people who have taken their stand against me on every side, I lie down and rest, and I'm able to wake up unafraid because God is with me, because God sustains me. Verse number 7, rise up, Yahweh, save me, my God. This is an imperative phrase. There are only about 13 such imperative phrases in the Old Testament, and 10 of them happen to be in the Psalms, one of those being here. And it is an emphatic request that David is making toward God to rise up, which is interesting because that is, again, a similar term to this increasing number of those who are against him. Again, where the numbers might be increasing against me, now he is calling on God to rise up and to stand up and to increase for me. Save me, my God. You strike all my enemies on the cheek. You break the teeth of the wicked. Salvation belongs to Yahweh. May your blessing be on your people. There is great confidence, again, that God had, or excuse me, that David has in God because of who he is and because he knows that God cares for him. And he knows that victory, salvation, blessing, those things only belong to God. They only belong to God. So who else, or to whom else can he and should he turn? Obviously, the answer is no one. There's no one else to whom David can turn and actually find peace and find relief, because there's no one else who is deserving of any sort of confidence like God is. So again, what do we see here for David? We see him bringing his trouble to God. We see him recognizing God's ability to provide for him. And because of all this, he finds then peace in his God. But let's notice this finally here about Psalm number 2. Notice that the circumstances don't change. It doesn't say anything here about, um, this being the time whenever Absalom, his hold on David turns. No, no, he remains opposed. David does. So David's mindset doesn't change because his circumstances change. No, circumstances remain the same. He's still fighting for his life. He's still under the thumb of his son at this moment. But his confidence in God and the peace that he finds with God, that also remains something that is unchanged. Because what do we think about? We think about, okay, well, whenever things get better, then I'll feel better. Whenever things change, whenever my fortunes change, then I'll have peace, or then I'll have confidence. No, 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 no. It is during the moment of trial that David has confidence, that David can have peace through his God. And that's regardless of whether or not the circumstances change or not, whether or not he's oppressed or whether he's not oppressed, whether or not he's got the numbers or the enemy has the numbers. His confidence stays in God. So for us as we consider the incredible trials that we have to endure in this life that comes with being a human in a broken world that is so influenced by sin and that suffers the consequences of sin, we must recognize that in those moments, we can immediately have confidence and peace in God. We don't have to wait for the trial to subside. Sure, yeah, of course we're going to pray for the trial to let up. Of course we're going to pray for better times. But don't let those better times in the future, or the letting up of the trial in the future, don't let that be the time frame in which you're going to find confidence and peace. No, again, we can find confidence and peace right now. Even as the enemies increase, even as the many are against us, even as the many might discourage us, it does not matter. Because our confidence is rooted in who God is. And God doesn't change. No matter our circumstances, no matter the enemy, no matter the size of the enemy, no matter for any of it, God doesn't change. Again, can I read verse number 3? But you, Yahweh, are a shield around me, my glory, and the one who lifts my head. Friends, if we are in Christ, we are already victorious. And the enemies that surround us, the difficulties that we face, the trials we endure and suffer, they're only temporary. They're only temporary. And glory and victory, they can give us peace now. And they should. Even now, whatever trial or difficult we're facing, may we have confidence in God, even as we see expressed here by King David. If you have any questions or comments about Psalm number 3, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I appreciate you taking some time to read along with me today. Hope that you have a great rest of your Friday. And next time you see Gabby, hope that you'll wish her a very happy birthday. Turns the big 5 today. And we love her. We appreciate her. And we love and appreciate our church family too so much. Please continue to be praying for those who need it right now too. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back at it again on Monday. We'll be reading Psalm 4 on Monday. We'll also be gathering for our Bible study and worship assembly on Sunday. We'll be kicking off our new preaching theme for 2024, and it's entitled Family Matters. The local church is a family. We're going to talk about what that means in 2024 and the many various familial aspects that come with that idea. Looking forward to that. Hope to see you then. Take care and God bless.